right, so for this video, I'm going to kind of build off what we did last time. Last time we had our spaceship, we made our bomb class, and we're kind of having them interact a little bit, kind of all within the main class. I'm going to work on incorporating my bomb class inside of my spaceship class to have them kind of work together. And yeah, so I'm going to do this in a little bit of a different way than I've done in the past. I'm going to show you the final product, and then I'll leave it up to you if you want to walk through the code with me afterwards, or if you just want to try and code it on your own. But this is kind of what I want the final product to look like. So we're going to click here, we're having our spaceship come. Let's see, the spaceship is going to, well, we can click and make as many pieces as we want. It's kind of interesting, actually, if they chose random directions instead of always going right. That's something you can maybe code for on your own. Just a little extra creative things you could do. Kind of lame, they always go to the right first. So yeah, this is basically what's happening. This is what's happening. The spaceship's still going back and forth. It's dropping bombs, and they are coming out kind of at random times. You see they're not all like clumped up together. They are falling at random speeds. That's a few other kind of just minor modifications I made to the bomb class that I'll walk through in this video. And let's see, I think that's about it. So okay, if you're good, you can stop the video now and you can try and code this on your own. Otherwise, I'll walk you through how I did it. All right, so picking up where we left off, let's see, we had our main here. We have our spaceship. I think I adjusted this back so it should look the same as where we left off last time. We have our spaceship with our move. Hopefully you can zoom in and just kind of see where I'm at with all this code. In case yours looks a little bit different. Let's see. Okay, so we have our bomb, we have our spaceship, and we just want to kind of combine the two. What I want to do is, like, I want to have the bomb dropping be a part of the spaceship class, because then when I make a bunch of different spaceships, they all have that kind of ability already tied into them. So let me think about how, like, the best place to start out with this here is. I think that what I want to do is inside the main, we're just going to do kind of in our loop, we're going to store some bombs. So I'm going to put the, like, really, shouldn't really be saying storing some bombs with the FBI's cache scheme, but let's just say that there. So I need to store some bombs in an array list. I'm making an array list here in the main method, or in the main class. And then I want to say bombs equal to array list. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to make a method within spaceship that is going to add some, that is going to create some bombs. So let me go in spaceship here. Like, I basically want to be in the main method, I want to be calling the spaceship method, make bomb, and that's going to, inside of the main method, it's going to add it to the array list. So inside of spaceship, I need to make a new method that's going to be called, we're called create bomb. I'm going to leave that kind of return statement empty for a second here. Because really what I want this to do is I want it to return a bomb to the, whoever calls this method. Again, it sounds very aggressive, but whoever calls this method, I want to send a bomb to them. That's not sound right. But that's what we're going to do here. We're going to, whenever we create bomb, it's going to send, so like if I call this method for my spaceship, if I go into here, where we at in our main method, it's like inside of our, just a little slow. So let's see, so if I call the method like s, or for spaceship, we could do inside this loop, we could do s dot, oh, I realized I left some code in here that I'm going to change. Open the wrong code, that's why. Keep switching back and forth. Okay, little spoilers in there. So inside of here, I want to access, anytime I make a spaceship, I can do like s dot and create bomb is now there. And what I need to do with this thing, so this is going to go into the spaceship, it's going to access this method, and this thing is actually going to eventually evaluate into a bomb object. So let me go into my spaceship, and hopefully this will make sense here in a second. What I want to do is return a new bomb. And I want it to be based on, let's see, when I make a bomb, what do I need to pass in there? I need to pass in the screen, I need to pass in the location. Okay, that's a little bit tricky because, let's see, there's a couple ways I could do this. I think I'm going to, the first thing is I need access to the screen. Right now, I have the screen here as an input to the spaceship class, but that means it's only available within the constructor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a private screen variable. So that means it's available across the class now. That screen method is available, or screen object variable is available across the entire class. I'm going to initialize it to be equal to, say this dot screen is going to be equal to the screen that's coming in as a parameter in the constructor here. And so now that means I have access to this. We're all dealing with the same screen, right? The main is passing the screen to this method, and I have access to it down here. So let's see, we need to pass in this, and then we need to pass in a location. So let's see, I'm going to drop out of kind of the center of the the body of the spaceship. If you recall how I drew mine, I don't know, maybe you drew yours differently. But I'm going to do ship.get1. Just if you recall, ship is my array list of the different parts of the ship, and I am looking at the second thing in here. So I want to do this. This is going to return the body. Basically, going to return this oval, and I want to, let's see, I could probably just do the center of this. It might be a little bit like that. I might want to mess with the Y and move it down a little bit, but I don't think it's really going to be noticeable. Because like this is kind of going to appear in the middle of the body of the spaceship, but like, I don't know, that's kind of like an aesthetic thing. Maybe we could change that, maybe not. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm sure this video is running long. Okay, so we've now made the create bomb class inside of the spaceship. Let's go back to our main method. And now this is going to work. Let's see, what I want to do with this bomb. So right now, I'm creating it. I think if I run this, I'm probably just going to have a bunch of, again, I'm kind of mindful of my time. So you can skip forward past this if you don't want to see how it actually, what it's going to look like on the screen. I'm going to show you, like, in the process, how it's going to look. Oh, no, don't give me errors. Getting errors. Okay, quick pop back on that. It was, something was weird with the VSC kind of interface. It wasn't running right. I know we've had some issues with that. I just popped over to the CR2. I clicked on this button to switch to CR2, so that's something you can do if it's not running right. This one works more reliable, but it's also doesn't have any auto, which we've talked about a million times. All right, again, skip forward if you don't see this in action so far. All right, so it's kind of working so far. Not exactly the way we want, but it is doing what we're told to do. In here, we are, because we are making a pop back to VSC here. So it is actually doing what we want, right? Because it is creating the bomb. It's just not really, we're creating, we're putting on the screen, but not anything else. So what I want to do here is actually, I'm going to create them, but I'm going to also add them. I'm going to go into my bombs array list, and I'm going to add the thing that I made here. Okay, so now we have a bunch of bombs stored inside of this array list. And so now it's like every time we go through this loop, every time we move the spaceship, we're also adding bombs to this array list. And then I can make a separate loop for bombs and bomb and bombs. We're going to do b.do move. And that should have them, all those things that are getting created here, we're going to also move them down here. Okay, so let's take a run at that. I think that's going to be mostly it. Trying to pause a little bit more so we don't have quite such a long delay here. All right. So it is kind of working as intended in a sense. So I think like now this is the bones of the code. I mean, we've gotten a lot of things, and now it's just going to be doing some aesthetics choices. Like, so it's not really technical issues. It's just trying to make this maybe so the bombs are spaced out a little bit more. So again, if you want to stop, you can stop. Otherwise, I'm going to walk through a little bit more about how we might do this to make it a little more spaced out. Okay, so that's your warning. Continue on if you'd like. Okay, so one thing I want to do here, instead of making the bombs all the time and having them move all the time, well, actually, I'm going to do two things. One, I don't want to add the bombs every single last time that this is happening. I might want to make them just kind of like randomly happening. So let me do this. I'm going to make a new random object. Random. Let's make a random, which we've used before to generate some random numbers. And let's see, what I want to do here is I'm going to put inside of this, I'm going to have a little if statement. And what I'm going to say is that if I'm going to generate a random number, random.next, and it's going to be through 100. So it's a value somewhere between 0 and 100. And I'm going to say that if that value is less than, say, 10, then we'll add the bombs. Okay. So let's see here. So what it's going to do is it's going to generate a random number, even distribution somewhere between 0 and 100. Each number has an equal chance of coming out. And so roughly, like 10% of the time, the value should be less than 10. So this is going to basically say that this is a long way of saying that 10% of the times create a bomb. And then, yeah, so we pop back over. Let's check out our code real full. Okay, so popping back into this. We now have our bombs kind of coming out at irregular intervals. And that's getting pretty close to where we were at the very beginning of this video. She's kind of popping out random. Just adds a little bit more of a, I don't know, maybe an interesting effect that you might want to include. Let's see, one last thing that I want to do is, if you look at the video originally, you can see the balls are kind of following at different speeds. So let's encode that as well. So for that, I'm going to go into the bomb class, and I'm going to set its movement right now I have this set so it's looking at the health, which that was an idea from last time. Let me do this. I'm going to do kind of the same thing. I'm going to make a random number. So I'm going to make a random, generate a random number, and I'm going to use that to set, let's see, I don't know, I could be kind of creative. I'm not going to be super creative. I'm just going to say that I'm going to make a variable called speed is equal to random dot next int. I'll do this purposely wrong, and I'll make a little fix to it later. So let's make it a private int speed. And then we are going to go down to here. We're going to do health. We're going to do speed here. Let me show you how this is going to have a little bit of an error, and then we'll fix the last thing, and that'll be it for this video. All right, so I'm trying to get it out of here. Okay, so we're going to make our things, make our spaceships. I think it's just lagging a little bit. It doesn't like me to record and create at the same time. So you can see, hopefully, you can see some errors here that not quite working the way that we wanted. Yeah, all these bombs are kind of just hanging in the air. And just really quickly to fix that problem, it comes back into our bomb class where we're generating values between the next int. I made this error before, so I decided to leave it in and just show you an error you might come across. This is generating values from 0 up until 5. Well, if we generate a value of 0, speed is going to be 0. It's not going to move. So real quick fix, I'm just going to add 1 to it. So now the values are somewhere between 0 and 5, but then shifted 1 to the right. So it's really producing values between 1 and 6 for our speed. So let's go into our main. Let's just try and get to the last one here. Work. All right, there we go. So we got a lot of spaceships coming. Again, I hope that this is providing tools to exploit your own creativity. It shouldn't be just like a kind of copy and paste show. It's showing, taking some of these ideas and making them your own. So let's see, a couple things that I want you to take away from this. I think the biggest thing that we did in this lesson, this kind of little video, was to using one class within another class. Within the spaceship class, we're now using the bomb class and having this kind of interplay between what we make in the bomb, what we make in spaceship, and then also what happens in a main, what happens in where does the code get run. I think those are where that's the real challenge of this, is trying to decide where do I run this code. In general, a good guideline I think is we want to do most of the action inside of our, just the way JavaDraw is built, I think we want to do most of the action inside of our main class, because that's where we have our loop constantly running. So keeping that as kind of this is where the action is happening, somewhere in these lines, that helps me kind of keep these things organized. And then what's going on in the bomb and the spaceship is kind of like the structure, like how are these things going to be built, but then I'm actually using them within the main class. And so that's just my view on this. I think especially with JavaDraw, this is really a useful way to think about it. Action in the main class, structure, and setup in the other classes. Hope that's helpful, and I'll see you soon.